So back in 2019, when you worked at Disney, the Disney Corporation, you could expect a long and pretty stable career. It's a huge company, lots of things you could keep doing there at a pretty good salary. And the only cost would be you have to follow the rules. Disney at the time was getting increasingly, and the people who worked there were expected to go along with it. So don't say anything and you'll be absolutely fine. But for some reason, she could not follow that rule.
I don't worship your business, and my God is bigger than Disney. So this is where I'm at.
What happens when you take on the most powerful entertainment empire in the world and start winning? Gina Carano was supposed to be just another casualty in Hollywood's long history of cancel culture, a name that trended for a week, got memory hold, and quietly faded away while the machine kept turning. But this time, the machine broke, because what began as a tweet-fueled controversy is now unraveling into a legal firestorm that could force Disney, the same Disney that built an empire on magic and make-believe, to reveal its ugliest corporate secrets. We're talking lawsuits, courtroom rulings, and a judge demanding Disney hand over the one thing they really don't want to: proof of how they treat their stars behind the scenes. Pay records, internal emails, the kind of stuff studios bury deeper than Walt Disney's chain.
Win big against Disney. Lawsuit discovery battle. Judge orders Disney to hand over actors' pay records. Boy, we're going to learn what everybody made on these to see exactly how much they stole from the great Gina Carano. Again, a character that everybody loved.
Did you see, Stu, that Gina Carano has just won a lawsuit against Disney?
Yeah, it's a big. That doesn't normally happen, does it?
No, it really.
Disney has some big lawyers.
No.
And here's the kicker: this legal battle isn't just about Gina anymore. It's about what happens when someone refuses to play by the studio's rules and instead plays for exposure. Because this fight, it's about more than money. It's about whether one actress can crack open the most powerful media company in the world, and whether we're finally about to see what's behind the curtain.
In 2021, for all of these people, this Disney and Lucasfilm, to make me really think about, oh geez, where is my line? That's not what I want to say, and that's not what I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings.
Not long ago, Gina Carano was riding high, not just in the octagon as an MMA pioneer, but in Hollywood. When she stepped into the role of Cara Dune in The Mandalorian, fans instantly connected. She wasn't just another cookie-cutter action figure. She felt authentic, strong, grounded, and charismatic in a way most streaming-era heroes just don't. Disney, for once, had a female character that wasn't polarizing or preachy. Cara Dune was a hit, so much so there were whispers of a spin-off series, her own corner of the Star Wars universe. In a franchise still finding its footing post-Skywalker, Carano was quickly becoming a fan-favorite anchor.
Someone like Gina Carano, who's a fighter by trade, and who's like actually a beloved, strong female character that Disney had. Like Disney had one universally appreciated strong female character, and they destroyed her for nothing. There was nothing wrong with Gina Carano's post. Nothing wrong with nothing.
Gina Carano was a popular MMA fighter who did 7 episodes of the show Mandalorian, playing the character of Cara Dune.
But this wasn't just about screen time. Gina Carano was positioned to become a central piece of Disney's billion-dollar streaming play. She was about to cash in on long-term deals, merchandising, crossovers, the full Disney treatment, until she spoke her mind. It started with posts on social media, some questioning pandemic policies, others poking at social correctness. Nothing violent, nothing wrong, just unpopular, to the wrong people at the wrong time. Suddenly, the tide turned. The same studio that had championed strong female leads went silent. Behind closed doors, executives were allegedly panicking. Carano wouldn't delete her posts. She wouldn't issue a public apology crafted by PR suits. She refused to grovel. And just like that, Disney flipped the switch. Her character was written out. Her contract was canceled. Press statements were released, vague and loaded with values language. Publicly, they claimed she no longer aligned with the brand. Privately, well, that's what the lawsuit would later try to uncover.
Hello, Disney. You're going to have to redo your film again, because this was and you fired Gina Carano for far less than this nonsense.
The order comes after 8 months of what Carano described as Disney's deflection and stalling in her wrongful termination lawsuit.
But I feel like you're pushing your ideologies on me, and you are, and you're backing me into corners that I had to draw a line, and they kept crossing it.
But here's where it gets interesting. Most stars would have stayed quiet, maybe done a podcast interview a year later, maybe written a memoir 5 years down the line. Gina didn't do that. She waited, she watched, and then she made her move. Fast forward to 2024, and the world found out Gina Carano wasn't just licking her wounds. She was lawyered up. And the lawsuit? Wrongful termination and discrimination. The allegations? That Disney fired her for expressing her personal beliefs, not for violating any professional contract. And more than that, that, she claimed she was financially and professionally sabotaged. What did Disney do? Predictably, they tried to ignore it. For months, they stalled, refused to turn over documents, claimed discovery requests were too broad, too complicated, or just not their responsibility. But Gina's team kept pushing, filing motions, collecting receipts, and then came the court's ruling, the one that sent shockwaves through Hollywood. A judge ordered Disney to hand over internal actor pay records within 20 days. That includes salaries from The Mandalorian, Andor, and even upcoming Star Wars projects like The Mandalorian and Grogu movie. Why does that matter? Because Gina's entire case hinges on what she lost, not just the role, but future earnings. And if those records show that other actors with similar roles earned millions, while Gina was cut off cold for speaking her mind, that's not just wrongful termination, that's selective punishment and potentially discrimination.
It says Gina Carano wins big against Disney in lawsuit discovery battle. Judge orders Disney to hand over actor pay records within 20 days.
Discovery motion granted. That's right. In the Gina Carano case against Disney.
8 months ago, Disney took a massive loss in their battle against Gina Carano, whom they fired unlawfully, by the way. Opinion.
Now, imagine being an executive at Disney, reading that court order, knowing you'll have to turn over not just salaries, but internal emails, contract notes, maybe even messages where someone said, "Get rid of her." That's not just a lawsuit anymore. That's a ticking time bomb. And while mainstream outlets have barely whispered a word about it, online communities are in full detective mode. Because this case, it might become the first real test of Hollywood accountability in the social media age. And it's only getting started. When the judge's order hit, it wasn't just a legal technicality. It was a direct hit to the mouse's carefully guarded vault. Disney was forced to do the one thing it fears most: show what really happens behind the scenes. Actor pay records, internal memos, emails, everything that could answer one burning question. Was Gina Carano punished differently than her co-stars? Now, let's be clear. Disney isn't new to lawsuits. They've dealt with disgruntled employees, creative clashes, even copyright battles. But this one? This hits differently. Because it's not about a forgotten contract or unpaid royalties. It's about ideology, about reputation. And more than anything, it's about setting a dangerous precedent, one where studios might be held accountable for silencing people who don't toe the line. According to Gina's legal team, the requested documents include compensation records from The Mandalorian, Andor, and even the upcoming Mandalorian and Grogu film. Names like Pedro Pascal, Rosario Dawson, and more are now part of the conversation, whether they like it or not. Why? Because if Gina was promised her own spin-off and others with less screen time or fewer storylines were paid significantly more, well, now we're talking about real damages.
In a major legal victory for Gina Carano in her lawsuit against Disney, the U.S. District Court for the Central District of California has granted a motion to compel Disney to turn over key documents related to how other Star Wars actors were compensated, including big names like Pedro Pascal, Rosario Dawson, and the cast of The Mandalorian and Grogu.
The court is forcing Disney to turn over information about how the stars like Pedro Pascal, Rosario Dawson, and others from The Mandalorian and other Disney Plus Star Wars shows and the following upcoming movie, The Mandalorian and Grogu, were compensated for their roles. Oh my gosh, we're gonna get all that information?
And that's just the start. What if the internal emails show she was fired before her infamous tweet? What if they revealed Disney planned to cut ties over creative views long before any official reason was made public? And here's where things heat up. Disney allegedly dragged their feet for 8 straight months before complying, claiming delays, saying the records were hard to find, pretending they didn't exist. But a billion-dollar company that can generate entire galaxies in CGI can't pull up a few spreadsheets? Yeah, the court didn't buy it either. The judge warned that if Disney fails to comply, the court could issue sanctions or even allow the jury to assume Disney is hiding something, and that could affect Disney significantly.
In fact, the judge kind of smacked Disney down in the aftermath of this ruling, saying that Disney has provided absolutely nothing that could justify their actions in this case, and it would move forward to trial. Well, here we are 8 months later, and somehow, some way, it looks like Disney doesn't want to turn over some of their internal data. Isn't that weird? Despite the fact that they were ordered to do so by a judge, Disney's been dragging their feet. Gina Carano accuses Disney of stonewalling as trial date delayed to 2026. Effectively, that Disney hasn't handed over all the discovery that they're supposed to. They're taking every route they can to get out of this. They're trying to delay, they're trying to deflect, they don't want to give up what they've been ordered to give up.
So now, Disney has 20 days, just 20 days to hand over their secrets. And if they don't, the court may treat that silence as an admission of guilt. The world's biggest entertainment brand is suddenly cornered, not by a rival studio, not by a hostile takeover, but by one actress, a court order, and a relentless legal team that refuses to back down. down. And behind the scenes, panic mode. Let's talk about what's happening behind those castle walls. Because while Disney smiles for cameras and promotes the next animated reboot, insiders say something else is going on. Something far less magical. There's a full-blown civil war brewing inside the executive suite. On one side, the cut-the-check crowd. These are the finance guys, the risk analysts, the PR handlers. They want to settle quietly. Write Gina a massive check, bury the documents, and spin the press. To them, it's simple. A scandal costs more than a settlement. But on the other side, the hardliners, the ones obsessed with the brand, the ideology, the control. They believe settling would send the wrong message, that if you push hard enough, Disney will bend. And if this gets out, what's to stop the next disgruntled actor from waving their flag and demanding a payday? To them, this isn't just a lawsuit. It's a battle for control. And in the middle of it all, Gina Carano is still swinging. She's made it clear. This isn't about a check. It's about clearing her name, about publicly exposing the machine that tried to cancel her. And she's not bluffing.
Moment where you were going to come back. You're the OG.
Oh, well, I mean, gosh, there was...
No, you're the OG.
Thank you.
In terms of women's MMA, who is more OG than you? You're the original star.
Well, like, not MMA, but like Lucia Riker.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and Muay Thai, yeah, and in boxing, yeah, and then there's Christy Martin and
Yeah.
you know a lot of other folks.
And then there was like the Debbie Purcells and Erin.
Ann Wolf.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of like women combat sports athletes, but in terms of MMA, you're the OG.
Well, I appreciate that coming from you. That means a lot.
Meanwhile, Disney's lawyers are scrambling. They know what's in those documents. They know the language they used, the jokes, the internal emails with "get rid of her energy," the payment gaps they didn't think anyone would ever see. They also know that if a judge sees those records and doesn't like what they find, the trial could go bazooka. But here's what might be even worse, the ripple effect. Because if Carano wins, this becomes case law. It becomes a roadmap for other actors, writers, producers, anyone who felt blacklisted for having the wrong opinion. Suddenly, Hollywood has a new problem: accountability. Studios may have to think twice before ghosting someone over a tweet. NDAs might not be enough to silence criticism. The illusion of being untouchable? Shattered. So while Disney publicly pretends this is just another minor dispute, inside they're sweating. The kind of sweat that doesn't come off with a rebrand or a ride opening. Because Gina Carano isn't just fighting for herself anymore. She might be dragging the entire system into the light.
Now, let me just say that this is something that Disney could have done in the way that almost every single entity ever does this, which is to say, you are going to have to do it anyway. Just be polite. This is a formality, Disney, but you know what? Another win is another win.
So once again, they need to have the judge step in, and once again, Gina Carano gets a massive win against Disney.
While Disney puts on a polished face, the whispers in Hollywood are growing louder and a lot less friendly. Multiple industry insiders are now claiming there's more to this story than even the lawsuit reveals. Whispers of internal memos, the kind that suddenly disappeared from official channels, last-minute policy changes right after Carano was fired, executives urging staff to keep quiet, and perhaps most terrifying of all, rumors of hush money. Yes, hush money. Not for Gina, but for other actors. People who allegedly faced similar situations but took the silent route. Allegedly, some were offered quiet payouts to walk away. Others, blacklisted behind the scenes without a word of explanation. No official firing, no public controversy, just silence. If Gina's team uncovers even one email confirming this kind of pattern, where Disney used off-the-books deals to silence or sideline people over opinions, it's not just bad press, it's a systemic scandal. And that's why this lawsuit is so dangerous for the mouse, because it opens a door they've spent decades trying to bolt shut. That's why this isn't just about one tweet or one actress. It's about what happens when you go digging into a billion-dollar media empire's dirty laundry, and they can't stop you, and people are watching. Executives at other studios, agents, lawyers, actors who've stayed silent until now, wondering if maybe it's time to speak up. If Carano wins this case, she won't just get vindication. She might trigger a domino effect that rattles the entire industry, and Disney knows it. Here's where the tension boils over. Disney has been ordered to produce all internal actor pay records, emails, and internal communications related to Carano's firing within just 20 days. No more delays, no more corporate runaround. And if they fail, the judge could impose sanctions that would cripple their case. Worse, the jury could be instructed to assume that Disney is hiding something, a move that could single-handedly tip the scales. Gina's team is already preparing to pounce. If the documents arrive late, incomplete, or suspiciously redacted, they'll file motion after motion to push Disney further into the spotlight. And they have the resources to keep swinging until the trial date in 2026. But don't let that year fool you. This this battle isn't paused until then. In fact, the most explosive reveals could happen well before the trial even starts. A single leaked email, one terrifying spreadsheet, an anonymous testimony. That's all it takes to blow the lid off. And here's the irony. Disney is running out of options. If they fight and lose, they expose everything. If they settle, they look guilty. If they drag it out too long, Gina wins in the court of public opinion. It's checkmate, and the board is tilting. What started as a studio firing a controversial actress is now a battle that could rewrite the rules of creative freedom in entertainment. For years, Hollywood operated on a quiet understanding. Say the wrong thing and you disappear. No lawsuits, no headlines, just empty inboxes and calls that stop getting returned. But if Carano wins, that culture of fear cracks. Studios might have to defend their decisions, not just to shareholders, but in court. Company values might no longer be enough to terminate someone. People who've been blacklisted, ghosted, or quietly pushed out could come forward. This case could give them the blueprint. And the stakes for Disney aren't just financial, they're existential. Their entire brand is built on inclusion, magic, and moral clarity. But if a court confirms that behind closed doors, they punish people for differing beliefs, no marketing team in the world can spin that into a feel-good story. And it's not just Disney. Other studios are watching, sweating, wondering, are we next? Because once one domino falls, the rest don't stand a chance. This isn't just about Gina Carano anymore. It's about power, control, and the illusion that some voices in Hollywood are too powerful to challenge. But if one woman, backed by a rogue billionaire and a team of relentless lawyers, can force Disney to answer for its actions in public, that changes everything. It means the rules have shifted, that silence is no longer the safest option, and that even the mouse can be dragged into the light. So as the clock ticks toward the judge's deadline, as spreadsheets pile up on courtroom desks, as lawyers whisper and execs panic, one thing becomes clear. The Magic Kingdom isn't invincible, and Gina Carano might be the one who proves it. Stay tuned, because the next update in this story could crack open more than a case. It might just break the spell.